Welcome to part 3 of the performance video for my loader build on a garden tractor. Many of my subscribers are new to projects like this, and they're mainly interested because they want to see what I did in order to incorporate certain things, certain elements into their own build. So that's the approach that I'm taking. Many of you that may view this video are already experts and know what you're doing, and I am probably offering very little to you, maybe just some entertainment. But for those that are new to this sort of thing and want to learn something, I include more than just pictures or video of the loader in action. I am also including information in regards to decisions that I made that could affect performance if you don't take such things into consideration. Of course, it's not all inclusive. I can't possibly cover everything, but I think I'm covering some important things that you may want to take into consideration for your own build. So sit back, hopefully enjoy the video, and please keep in mind that like button and even the subscription button that I would love to have you to come on board as a subscriber. Hi, Ed here with Ed's 2 Cents Worth, and this is part 3 of the 3-part series on building a loader on a garden tractor. This is a true garden tractor. It's not um, uh, anything that would be seriously used on a farm, but in a small farm, it would work well. You've seen other videos that I've built loaders on to even lawn tractors, and I did that because I wanted to prove that it was possible to do it and also that it would be worth your while to do it. But this build is a little bit different because this is a tractor that you can really get some work out of. And if you decide to build a loader and you're thinking about a lawn tractor, you might want to consider notching it up just a little bit and get yourself an actual garden tractor. You're going to find that you're going to have a lot more traction in the rear. You're going to be able to put weight on it that needs to be on there in order to counterbalance what's happening up in the front with the loader. So if it's something that you can afford that's in your budget, I would recommend going from a lawnmower type of tractor to a true garden tractor. And there's a lot of those available out there in the used market, and you can usually find something that will please you. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention. Had some questions in regards to the hydraulics. I'm going to show you a little bit closer here how I set the pressure on the system for the hydraulics. Also, uh, just quickly, right here, something when you're working out the details of your build, you need to make sure that you allow the proper spacing here so that you're not busting your knees against it, that you've got some room, and also comfort. Right, this is perfect from someone that's my size. I'm right at 6 foot. I'm not in any danger here of ruining my knees, and this is very comfortable. So you want to consider that when you're positioning everything and think out where you want to put things. For example, the tank, the reservoir tank. Why did I put the reservoir tank up there? Well, I put the reservoir tank in that location because it's really, quite frankly, the only place on the tractor where I could put it where it would not detract as far as aesthetics, and that it would be in a practical place. It'd be all on the same side as the hydraulic system is. The pump is back here. This would have been the obvious place to have put the tank just above the pump, but I wanted to keep my 3-point hitch in operation. And in order to do that, I didn't want that movement, because there'd be a chance something could happen, go wrong somehow, and I'd bust a hole in the bottom of my tank if my tank was back there with the 3-point hitch. So I decided against that. So it's up there. And as I mentioned in my last video, I'm going to be building a metal tank to go up there. So let's talk about setting the pressure, and then we're going to get into the actual workout that I put this tractor through. You're going to see some pretty big stuff that I was able to move with it. And I'm real pleased with the way this has turned out. Let's put it that way. I'm real pleased with it. So stay tuned here. Give me a moment to grab the camera. Okay. So here is my spool valve. It's a 4-way spool valve. And one of the first things I want to do before I go opening things up, I want to make sure that the pressure is relieved on this. So I'm going to cycle through my valve and make sure that all the pressure is gone. You'll see movement in, for example, in your bucket or your arms going up and down. You'll see some kind of movement in there if there's pressure on your hydraulic cylinders. And you want to relieve that so that when you open it up, 1, you don't get wet with oil, and 2, you don't get injected into your skin the hydraulic oil, because that's extremely dangerous. It can kill you. So just be careful. Make sure you relieve all the pressure. Now, as you can see here, this T, I've got 3-way T here where I can connect 3 different things to it, okay? So this is my pressure line. I'm coming in from the pump here, right? And I'm going in to my spool valve. Right here, I'm going to remove this. This is just a plug. And I'm going to remove this. And I want to just make sure that there's no pressure on it, okay? No pressure. And I am going to put a gauge on it. I'm not leaving the gauge on all the time. Okay, now with the gauge on it, I can get a reading in regards to my pressure. Okay, so let's start it up and see what happens. I think you're going to be a bit surprised. What's that? That's less than 100 pounds. Why is that? Why is there just 100 pounds there? Well, we have to remember that a hydraulic pump is just that. It's a pump. It moves the flow of the fluid. Now, the fact that it is rated as far as pressure means that if there's resistance in the line, it can handle a certain amount of pressure. Now, this particular pump can handle 3,500 pounds of pressure. So as I bring fluid in here, there's no real pressure, right? But I'm going to call demand to it, and I want to raise my bucket. So then I'm going to see, as pressure builds, I'm going to see the needle increase. Okay, when it peaks out, it's going to peak out and stop the needle at a particular place. And that basically is my peak pressure. Okay, and I can adjust it, I can increase it, or I can decrease it. But on this tractor, I want it right around 1,000 pounds. Okay, I don't need a lot. All right, so let's start it back up and see what happens. Okay, I got the bucket on the ground. Let's see. It's increasing a little bit to right around 400 pounds. But now watch what happens when I reach the end of my stroke on my cylinder. It went way up, right? It went up to about 950 pounds. Okay? That is my set pressure. That's where I want to be on this tractor. I don't need anything above that. When I come down, I get pressure to command my cylinder, but I don't need peak pressure. All I need to do is to allow that to release and come down. Because my cylinders are double acting, I have pressure when I'm lengthening the stroke and when I'm decreasing the stroke. There's pressure on both sides. A single acting cylinder will only have pressure on the stroke out. It uses gravity to return the cylinder to its normal place. That's the difference between double acting and single acting. Okay, so there's my pressure. Now, if I wanted to adjust it, right here on my spool valve, you can see this little gizmo right here. That is a pressure valve control, okay? And all I would do is loosen this nut here. Once it was loose, then I could take, on this it uses an Allen wrench type of situation. On some it could be a flat bladed screw, it could be a hex of like a bolt almost, whatever the case may be, you'd use the appropriate tool for the adjustment. So backing it out, right, going counterclockwise, I would be releasing the pressure. The pressure would be dropping. Going in, putting more pressure on the little spring valve that's in there would result in increasing pressure. Okay? So just remember, screw it out, less pressure, screw it in, more pressure. And you're going to adjust. It depends really on your system and your volume of your pump and several other things, but usually a quarter of a turn at a time to see what you're doing is a good practice, to see how much you're gaining or losing as far as the pressure. You don't want to make, a couple of turns and then it be way off, be maybe even damaging, okay? Quarter of a turn, half turn at the most at a time when making changes. And you'll be in good order. Once you get that adjusted to where you want it, you lock the nut back down and take this out, and you're good to go. Of course, you'd remove, or I do, I always remove my gauge afterwards. So I'm going to take and remove my gauge. So once again, I'm going to release pressure. And now I can safely remove my gauge and restore things. So I hope that helps as far as those that have asked about how do I adjust my pressure. Let's deal with the performance. So one of the questions, or one of the things, it seems to me to be what everybody wants to see, can the tractor pick itself up? What I mean by that is by means of the bucket, can it lift the front end? Okay, well let's find out. It would seem so. Also, I might add that in that position, if I move forward using the rear wheels to start engaging the ground and start pushing, that blade would sink into the ground right there. And that would give me a good bite to break ground with. And in another piece of video, you'll see that. See, without trying, without even trying, you broke some of the ground. One of the things I like about this tractor is that the hydrostatics is very controllable. I don't necessarily have to be on the tractor to do the work I want to do. Of course, that means I got to be extra careful if I'm doing that, because it can roll over my foot or break a leg or something. So if you're ready to see some more footage, I'll be actually on the tractor doing something serious. Okay, so here we see how easy it is for the tractor to pull up old fencing with concrete attached to the posts, and just pull the concrete right out of the ground easily. Now this trailer, this side of the trailer is about the same height as a full-size pickup truck bed wall would be. So this can easily dump into a pickup truck bed with no problems. Now this is some footage of a pine tree that I had dropped, about an 85 foot tall pine tree, about probably 24 inches trunk base, something like that. These logs, these big ones, they're all in excess of 500 pounds, and the smaller ones get down into 400 or less. Now this particular log was probably just under 300 pounds, probably 275, something like that. Easy dumping, go for another. Now all of these pieces that I'm dumping here are right in the 300 to 350 pound range. That one there is a good 350, maybe more. Now you may wonder about how I can tell how heavy it is. You'll notice the ballast weight in the back That ballast weight is 3 concrete blocks filled with concrete. They each weigh about 60 pounds, so that's 180 pounds, and the platform that holds it's about 20 pounds. So there's roughly 200 pounds of ballast weight on that tractor the way it is. Now, I can't pick up 500 pounds with that weight because I'll lose traction. And I know this because I put a gauge on it, kind of experimenting a little bit to see how heavy the objects were that I was picking up and when I would lose traction and when I had to add ballast weight. And you'll see that coming up, that gauge, in just a little bit. Of course, some of the larger ones I actually needed to tie into the bucket so I wouldn't lose it, which that's not really a big problem. And the ones that were really too much to try and move, these were in excess of 500 pounds. Rolling was the way to go. Didn't have to use my back and my legs to try and roll them out there. The tractor made short, easy work of it. And of course that hydrostatic transmission really helps because you change direction so easy. Not trying to shift gears. No clutch work. And here, remember I spoke about pushing the bucket into the ground, tipping it in a direction where it would bite into the ground as I'm engaging the rear wheels. And you see how it's really biting in very nicely. This ground was semi-wet a couple of days earlier. We had a light rain, not a real heavy rain. So there's some moisture in the ground. This is the first that I really had used this tractor to do any dirt work. So I'm kind of learning. I'm in that learning curve here as what you're seeing. That sod is very heavy. That's probably 250 pounds in that dump right there. So you see, it can break ground fairly good. Now this is a mix of wood chips and dirt after grinding the stump on that big pine tree. So this is somewhat light. That's probably less than 200 pounds of that bucket. As you can see, with the counterweights in the back, I maintain good traction. Now that's a good bite there. A lot of volume in that bucket right there. And you'll notice that the bucket has a real nice flat area on the bottom. It makes it really easy to find when it's level so that you can do some nice smooth scraping of the ground. Now this was pecan tree logs. These are really hefty logs. These are all right at that 490, 500 pound, maybe a little over 500 pound area. And there's the gauge that I was talking about earlier that I put on so I could see and gauge and find out how heavy an object I could pick up and maintain traction. Now with that 500 pound load in the bucket, see, I had to add more ballast weight. So there's quite a bit. There's roughly 300 pounds on that ballast side right now. And that allows me on smooth ground, fairly level ground, to maintain traction. If the ground was really uneven, I would need even more ballast weight. And I'm thinking about refiguring how I've got that ballast weight on there, try to make it a little more attractive the way it is. This was probably 900 pounds or so log, and cutting it in half. And since I had it in the bucket the way I did, to lift the one end, I just felt like I'd just keep it there and just drag it out to where I need it to be. The place that we live, the county comes by and picks up our tree remnants for us, so I don't have to worry about hauling it off or burning it or anything like that. When these logs would exceed the length of the bucket, I always tied them in so as to make sure that they didn't roll out on me. And that's pretty much it. I even had to do some of the work on part of it because these smaller diameter logs, while I could carry them off to the place I wanted to dump them, I still had to load them by hand simply because it was easier to do it that way. And I might add, that's at least double speed what you're seeing there, maybe a 4 times speed. I don't really run around that awkward. Not all the time, anyway. But that tree field was just full of debris. Big logs and cuttings and all kinds of stuff. and you can see the power of having a loader and what it can do for you. If you've got work around your place, you know, chances are if you've got an acre of ground, you probably got some work that could justify a tractor like this. So we want to say thank you for watching. Hope this was inspirational to you. Please click that like button and also the subscribe button if you want to see more. Thank you so much.